Hi everyone, I'm Richika Bindra and welcome back to season 2 of hashtag NoFilter. I am so excited. We had the entire summer off and we're going to talk about that and all about women entering male careers on the other side of the break. Hello GTA, hello hashtag NoFilter viewers. I'm Richika Bindra and welcome to our very first episode of season 2. I am so excited to be back. With me today, I have Katarina, Nikki, and Cora. Hi guys. They are our expert millennial panelists, and joining me later on the show today is a really interesting guest. We are talking today about male careers and how women have now started changing their positioning and entering it as well. With me later on today will be Jackie Perez. She's a game day host for the Toronto Argos, and she works as well as a host on Rogers TV. She will be telling us a lot more about that a little bit later, so stay tuned. Guys, how was the summer? We took a break. We had some time to recoup. Have we seen any changes with millennials in the last 3 months that I missed out on? No. Is there anything I should know? So we still have the same issues and the same dilemmas from health to life to social media to
Definitely.
boys?
I think so.
We're at the same stage? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Called her out.
Yeah. And this season, one of our biggest changes, besides the fact that we are live all across GTA, is that we are not only going for an hour versus 30 minutes, but we have a social media co-host with me, Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, Richika.
How's it going?
Good. So this season, what's going to be happening is during the show, we really want to get the viewers involved in the conversation. So if you have a question, a comment, you have anything to say about what we're talking about on today's show, you can tweet at NoFilter Rogers, or you can message us on Facebook, NoFilter Rogers as well, and we will read your tweets and hopefully answer your question.
Amazing. So Cassandra, I'm going to throw it to you because you are my special co-host, so I like to bug you to warm up the season. Women entering male-oriented careers. What is your take on that?
I definitely think it's harder for women to enter a male-dominated career, but at the same time, women are having an easier time now. Back then, they had a harder time. For example, Justin Trudeau, half of his staff is women just because of where the future is going.
Right.
So as hard as it is, it definitely is getting better. And I think women should feel more empowered to enter any career that they feel
100%. I think that's a really good point, which leads me to ask my teen panelists over here today, have you seen a shift, being young millennials, almost entering the workforce, or maybe being in the workforce, have you noticed that shift? If there's more of an industry that was a little bit more restrictive to men, for example, something like the automotive industry or sports, do you feel like you guys have seen that generation shift happen?
For sure. I think one of the major areas, and it's so, I guess, evident right now, is politics. Right. Right now, the U.S. is debating right now and trying to figure out if they want a female or a male president, and this is history itself already, but this will be super history after that election.
We see how it goes.
For sure.
Yep. And what do you think?
I think it's really cool because politics is definitely something that has always been strictly male, it doesn't matter what country you go to. So to go around the world and hear the prime minister of this country is a woman, the prime minister of that country is a woman, or unfortunately, I think the prime minister in Brazil just got impeached.
Yes.
But she was still there. Right. So she made some men believe in her.
And why do you think that restriction has been there?
For a long time, women weren't seen as the thinkers. We weren't seen as, being able to make those clear, concise decisions, being able to make and change the countries and the laws the way men did. Men think like that. So I think for us, we're slowly showing men that we can do it too.
Okay. What about Katarina? What's your take on that?
Well, at my school, I've noticed our student council in the past couple of years has been completely male-dominated.
Oh, wow.
And just recently this year, we've had about 3 females elected, and I'm not sure if that's influence from society right now, and you were talking about the politicians
the
and everything.
Landscape as well.
So I've definitely seen a change in my school, which is really great, because then I feel more represented, and I think it's a better school environment too.
Do you also notice that there's a shift in more of the corporate sector? Like now when you apply to jobs and you apply online, they're, you know, not only you're talking about your gender, but they always write at the end that we believe in gender equality, and, you know, they make it very evident. Do you almost think like it's a marketing ploy, or do you think they're genuinely making an effort to have sort of a balance in the workplace?
That could be debatable.
Okay.
I mean, I think marketing is a huge thing right now with media, and seeing something like that, hopefully people who do believe in equality will really go for that, and the minute they see that, it may put one job higher than the other. So I think it definitely helps with that. And hopefully you do want the company to be genuine in that sense, and hopefully they do abide by those details and stuff like that.
Because there's a whole other aspect, which is kind of me being devil's advocate, that says that there are certain things that men apparently can do better than women. And that's what, you know, research will show or stats will show to women, and a lot of them then feel discouraged, right? They feel like, okay, I need to look a certain way. If I'm going, for example, to a finance interview, more stats show that women that are better well-dressed, you know, will sometimes get the job, not because they're as maybe competent as, you know, candidate B that could have been a guy, but maybe as well because there's a physical and visual appeal to have, you know, a pretty girl walking down an aisle full of 100, you know, bankers there. So do you also feel like there is still that beauty standard that exists for women to get a job?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Well, your smarts matter, but they're always going to put your looks first, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
You can't change the way you look.
Have any of you kind of experienced that in any opportunities, like volunteer work or even like going for certain careers? Have you guys ever had situations where you felt like that? Like, I missed out because, you know, the girl behind me is maybe a little bit more, you know, better looking.
Definitely.
You feel like that's happened?
Definitely.
In what industry? Like,
Well, working in the fashion industry, for sure. You come across girls who are the look, in a sense, and you could literally overqualify for certain positions, jobs, whatever it is, and find that you face the issue that the girl behind me just looks better. She carried herself very well. So, unfortunately, because of that, you run into those you run into those issues, but you need to find ways around it, for sure.
100%, because it's never going to be easy, right? That,
Definitely.
I think, as most women say, it's never going to be an easy journey to get there.
Yeah.
Another thing I've also noticed is a lot of women talk about not having equal pay. That's a huge thing that we constantly see in the media. You know, people are always talking about the fact that men are getting a certain amount, women are getting a certain amount, and this is all across the board. We can take one of the most, you know, popular industries like the entertainment industry, right? A lot of women will talk about being on the same set as a male actor, and, you know, they're commanding that many thousands of dollars, that many millions per film, and then you have, you know, women that are like, they're not even getting 1/4 of what's being signed. So on the other side of the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about something like the entertainment industry and how it can really affect getting a job. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, #NoFilter watchers. On this other side of the break, we were talking about the entertainment industry, one of the most evident forms of women in the same field as men, but not necessarily qualifying for the same pay. So, girls, have you guys ever read about that, seen that? Because I know a lot of people, somebody being in the media industry, we always have this discussion as to why, you know, women are different versus men, why women journalists have different opportunities than men journalists. And that being said, acting especially is a bigger thing, right? Most producers, for the longest time, were more nervous to write women-oriented films because they said, who's going to give it an opening? As great as the story is, at the end of the day, if the box office doesn't generate a certain amount of dollars, we haven't profited from this. When you have big companies like, you know, standing behind you, like Paramount, et cetera, you need to generate the certain amount of revenue. So do you guys feel like that's something you guys have noticed as well?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where we've come a long way, but the fact that it's still not equal means there's still work to do.
Yeah.
And I think that some people like get lost in the fact that like, oh, we're doing something about it, but then they focus on what we have done, but it's like, what else are we gonna do next?
So true.
For sure.
And even more than that, not just being in the same film as a man, like even being in a women-oriented film, carrying a film all by yourself. for some reason, producers just feel like you will not generate the same fan base, you will not generate the same opening. You know, a Kate Winslet or a Julia Roberts can be in a women-oriented film, but if you look at the stats of what they generate and how many people go to the box office, it still doesn't, you know, accumulate to having even maybe not an A-grade actor, a B-grade actor, you know, opening a film. And that's the same, I think, not in Hollywood, but it's the same across any genre of cinema. You know, you could look at Chinese films, you could look at Indian films, you could look at literally films all over. They experience the same thing. You know, female actors get a bit less. Yeah. And I think that's a complaint that women feel across, you know, whether it's in the finance industry, the law industry. Most women lawyers always feel like they're competing in, you know, in the courtroom because men will almost sort of use the physical aspect of you being a woman to put you down. Or, you know, if they're supposed to be talking about the victim or the person, you know, up there, they're talking about you as a lawyer and being a woman, what you can do. So that's sort of something that I think as millennials, we're lucky that I think we've seen both. We've been able to see a bit of a change now, which is great. And there has been a bit of improvement. And I think we've also been able to see sort of the struggles that, let's say, our parents' generation went through, right? The generation before us. The constant struggle of trying to prove yourself. And some people also tie that into race, like women, being women of color, is that even harder to generate, you know, income? Nikki, do you feel like that's something you've seen, maybe not necessarily with you, but maybe some of your friends that have noticed it?
Definitely. I mean, just in general, when you look at a lot of things, we still have a very old mindset.
Okay.
And there is still that idea that men are they're the demand. They're what people want. If you're talking about movies, at the end of the day, no matter what, women are going to go out and watch a movie with men in it. Men will go watch movies with men in it. And, like, even if it's a chick flicky type movie with men in it, for example, like, what was that movie with Channing Tatum? A bunch of men still watch the movie. Why did they watch the movie? Because a bunch of women were going to watch the movie. So at the end of the day, it's like they're what is the demand. Not saying that women aren't, but chick flicks with solely women, you're not finding a group of dads like, yeah, we're leaving the wife tonight, we're about to go watch, like, Girlfriends. Not happening.
And a lot of men also do it just for, like, so they can see women as eye candy, right, on the screen. Like, it's a bit of pastime. I'm really quickly, I'm going to go to Cassandra. Cassandra, what are the tweeters saying?
So as much as women are eye candy, definitely us as women should be looking up to other women. So we got a tweet here from Dan Porter, and he said, who are your female role models and why?
So Cassandra, who are your female role models and why?
Ooh, you know what? I really look up to Michelle Dubé just because I'm studying media and I kind of want to be like her.
Okay.
But just any woman who works in the entertainment industry, I think I really admire.
Okay, girls, who are your favorite role models? Thank you for the tweet.
Oh, that's such a hard question.
For me, one of the top ones I can think off the top of my head is Oprah, like hands down. Just knowing what she came from and the empire she built for herself, she made something small and turned it into something bigger than herself. And she literally dominated an area or a field that is dominated by men.
Well, I mean, she still does. If you look at American TV show ratings and if you look at American media, the viewership that she had till today is still very, very hard to beat. So she's definitely, I think, someone who's created a great role model, not just in the entertainment and media industry, for anybody wanting to break norms, because she, as you said, at a time that she entered, it was all men, right? It was top newscasters, top male journalists that were taking over even daytime. And so to have her come on and kind of be a woman of color, I think really made a huge shift in American media, which I think on its own kind of fell through for Canadian and sort of all over the world. What's your role model?
I think mine's Keira Knightley. She's one of my favorite actresses, and she's faced a lot of the discrimination because she's a woman in her industry and the lower pay and everything, and yet she still pursues her career. She still takes roles, and I love how she promotes the inequality she's facing to raise recognition, and I just admire that so much.
Do you feel, though, like if more female actors, for example, would not sign films, would kind of, you know, put their foot down and say, okay, I'm not even getting 1/4 of what my male counterpart in the same set as me is getting, do you feel like that would eventually initiate a change?
Yes and no.
Or are they more scared to miss out on a prime opportunity?
They're more scared to miss out on a prime opportunity. At the end of the day, you put your foot down, they're like, okay, well, look, Jennifer Aniston was the it girl, but we have, like, you know, someone
You're
else.
replaceable.
And that's the thing. We can find someone else. You don't have to do it. You don't have to want to do it. Someone's going to want it for this money. So
versus when a male actor, that's, you know, a lot of scriptwriters write it with a certain male actor in mind, right? A lot of directors will say, yeah, when I took on this project, I had Brad Pitt in mind from the moment we initialized the story. You know, he was the guy I pictured. So they'll run after those actors, right? For whatever dollars it costs, how many ever zero signs. So that's, I think, something as millennials, we're lucky that we can sit today and recognize that and establish that. And I think it's commendable for us to see that we're actually pushing forward to still making a change. And I forgot to ask you, who's your favorite role model?
As cliche as this sounds, I have to go with the model Gigi Hadid because personally, like,
no, that's not cliche.
I love modeling so much, and I really like watching interviews of models just to see, like, what are they really like?
What do you like about her?
She just does not care about what people think whatsoever, and she talks about it all the time, and she stands for it, and I just find it really empowering. Do you think that's
just a really good PR campaign?
I hope not.
Okay.
Because I really like her, and I just, there's something about her. She's very real and genuine. Yeah, I like listening to her.
Very cool. I don't have one specifically I can think of. Like, I think everyone's phenomenal. It's so corny, but like, I don't have a specific female host that they're all amazing.
That's really surprising.
I don't have one specific one. I think in every field there's people that are worth recognizing. I think from a political standpoint, you know, Princess Diana changed the way Britain looked at the idea of a king and queen and, you know, what the expectations are. So on the other side of the break, we're going to continue to talk about women entering male-oriented careers. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm Ruchika Bindra, and this is #NoFilter. To affect the nail. People are going to cue that. Hi everyone, welcome back to #NoFilter, and I'm Ruchika Bindra. We were talking about women entering male-oriented careers. Cassandra, what are our viewers tweeting us?
So this is a really great question we just got from Justin. Maybe you could answer this, Ruchika, because you're a woman working in a male-dominated career.
Okay.
He said, what can women do to feel more empowered to enter a male-dominated career?
Okay, very, very good question. I think it's the fact that you just have to realize at the end of the day you're living for yourself. And this is what I always tell people. If you're going to say, I'm not going to do this because, you know, it's made for men, or I'm not going to do this because there's 60 men and I have to cross that hurdle. At the end of the day, time will pass, you'll find something else, but you'll sit when you're 60, 70 and you'll, you know, recap your life and you'll be like, oh my God, I missed out on something I wanted to do. And I always tell this to people, if you start living your life for yourself, more than what other people expect of you, you'll actually start to enjoy it more. So that's what I did when I wanted to get into media. I realized this was a career that I loved, and at the time I was entering it, even when I did my master's, there were like 62 men in the room and 3 women, myself included. And at the end of the day, you have to tell yourself that I don't want to sit down when I'm 60 and recap my life and be like, well, I never knew what that would have been like because, you know, I took something else just to kind of stay safe. So that's my best suggestion I can give. Girls?
That was like empowering.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
It's true. I don't know. You have to do what you want. You can't let something like that just be like, oh, just playing it safe just makes me really angry. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like if the job description does not say that I need to be a man to have the job, then I can have the job. And
I think that's great.
there.
I think sky should be the limit. Cassandra, what do we have next?
Another tweet?
Mm-hmm.
We have a tweet from Julia, actually. And she said, as a woman in a male-dominated workplace, I totally hate working extra hard to get respect by my male colleagues. This isn't necessarily
What's her ending hashtag?
mansplaining.
Okay. Mansplaining.
Like,
okay.
what do you girls think? Do you think mansplaining? Do you think it's harder for you guys to gain respect from males that you work with?
Ooh. Yes, and I find that like my managers in general, because I serve, and a lot of the servers are females, and like our bartenders are guys.
Yep.
And I find that most of the mansplaining and the complaining come from the men. Don't get me wrong, girls bicker. It's in our nature, okay, fine, whatever. But the boys, this isn't fair, I want this. And I'm just like, I don't understand. You're men. You're supposed to keep it together. Your composure. Like,
right.
And it's to the point where like sometimes I've even had like guests in our restaurant just be like, is he complaining right now about not having enough ice? And I'm like, yeah, that is him complaining.
That's a complaint.
That is a complaint.
So do you guys think it's true that as women you have to work harder once you're in the field, as Julia tweeted to us?
Yeah, I think the word respect sums it all up.
Yeah,
you need
to get that respect.
Yeah, I think where you're going to work, in your environment, you want to make friends. And to make those friends, you need those respect with the males. And it can be frustrating, but you also understand kind of where it's coming from, but you hate that you understand.
And you know what? I'm sure that's at sports as well, because I have a really close friend who's in sports marketing, and she said every time she'd even work on campaigns, they'd be like, okay, we'll tell you the stats. We'll tell you who's going to win. She's like, okay, you can bet, but I can also have an opinion. No, we understand the history of sports, right? So it's the same thing. If you'll see certain fields have that, where women have to really work hard to kind of, affirm their position, like, look, I'm here and I'm able to say something. And it's something even as simple as films. A film critic that a male will write a film review, and everyone's going to look at it. And a woman will write a review of a film, they're like, okay, we'll still go check it out, right? So the weight that gets as well as people in journalism as well, there's a huge different point. There used to be a time in the early 1800s in journalism where they didn't want women to do news because they thought we were too emotional. So we weren't going to present it, authentically, or we weren't going to be able to present it with the facts that they are. Right. So there has been, I think, a huge shift. Mm-hmm. It's exciting as us being examples to see women in more male-oriented fields being able to establish and take in the roles they want. But I think, as Julia asked a really great question, commanding respect is going to be a constant struggle. You always have to work 20% more, 30% more, 40% more, and you have to really sell yourself. You always have to be there. And I mean, it's gender. It takes me to my next question. Do you guys feel that's the same issue we have with gender norms? Looking a certain way, being a certain part, having to prove yourself.
I think for sure, honestly, sometimes I feel like people look at you and they think you're there for your face, you're there for your look, and you weren't hired based on your skills or your abilities. You're just that extra little chess piece in the whole game.
So you're being tested all the time.
Yeah.
I love that feeling, because then you come in and you knock it out of the park. Like, I look great, I'm smart, I'm pretty, I dress really well, I like that part, and I'm better than you. Not necessarily better than you, but I can do your job just as well as you can. And I in that sense, I don't mind gender norms. I love anything that is like a doubt on me, because a doubt is like kind of my motivation.
You like the challenge.
I love the challenge. Like, I like to knock the challenge down.
Because you like to prove them otherwise.
Of course.
Okay. Do you feel like there's one industry that is probably the hardest for women to break into, or maybe like your top two?
Oh man.
Maybe anything to do with something physical.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like because we don't have the established strength, or we can't lift 100 pounds necessarily? Okay.
I would say anything involving like investments, banking, Wall Street, that era. Like, if you look at all the people that work on Wall Street, you'll find like one woman to every like 100 men, 200 men. That or politics. You can definitely get into politics.
Right.
Let's see how high you can get in politics. Like Hillary, you're not my biggest fan. Not your biggest fan, but
you're proud of the fact that
she's
regardless of
up
what your
there.
political opinion is about her, is the fact that as a woman, she's still creating history by competing, and it's such a hugely discussed political, I think, campaign across the world, right?
For sure.
So I think in that sense, you're right. Gender norms work with us and can work against us. I know on the break, Nikki was making a joke. So you don't like to throw out the trash, Nikki?
No, at my job, I definitely do not like to throw I don't like to do anything that.
So you want gender equality, but you don't want to throw out the trash?
I don't want to do anything that affects breaking a nail. Like, if they can break a nail, it can break me. I'm not with it. Sorry.
Okay. So you have certain limitations.
Definitely.
Okay. Also, I think an industry like gaming, video games, IT, that's also something that it's like men are so protective about that industry that when women try to enter it, they're like, okay, first of all, what are you, a nerd? Like, you know, you're in this kind of a very boyish, stereotype boyish industry, and they're constantly testing you. You know, do you know how to code? Do you know how to do this? Are you able to prove that you can do it?
It's definitely changing though, because I find that like where I work, we have a bunch of iPads, so we always have IT on.
Amazing.
All the time. The head of our IT is a woman.
That's so good to see.
You walk into the Apple store, the Genius Bar is full of women, and I'm like, yes, go on. I don't know how to fix this at all. I'm gonna come to you.
And do you always ask for a woman?
I don't. I ask for whoever can fix the issue
You're
first.
like, who can fix this now fast?
But still proud of you.
Thank you. All right, on the other side of the break, we have our special guest, Jackie, with us to talk about what it is like to actually accomplish breaking such an amazing norm. Stay tuned, everybody, on #NoFilter. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ruchika Bindra, and you are watching #NoFilter. With me today is Jackie Perez. She is a game day host for the Toronto Argos. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
So thank you for coming on. What better person to talk about this topic? Women in male careers. Sports is the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about touching on, I think, such an important issue for millennials. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, how you kind of entered into such a male-oriented field.
Into this field. Well, thank you for having me, Rashka.
My
and
pleasure.
thank you guys for letting me join the conversation. So my story, I went to school for media and journalism, very much like
Similar,
yourself.
okay.
I grew up playing sports my entire life. That's all I knew. My parents put me and my brothers in it. So basketball, volleyball, baseball, just all of those things. So it was always part of my life. Didn't know any different. And then about 5 years ago, so 2011, I danced as well. So there was a call for Argos cheerleaders. There was auditions for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I danced a little bit, and I really want to get into sports media. How am I going to do that? You know what? A really good way to do it is to maybe audition, and I could learn the ropes of the CFL because I didn't know very much about it.
Yeah.
So I use that as an opportunity to learn about the game, learn about the inner workings of sports media that way. My second year, they made me a captain for the cheer team.
That's so exciting.
Which I was just as surprised too, but I was really happy. And my coach was one of my favorite mentors. She just said, you're very hardworking, I could really trust you, and I think you could handle this role. Following year, I got really into the digital side and offered the skills that I can do in terms of social media, in terms of video editing, just all that reporting, and really utilize those skills into that sports world. And then last year, they asked me to be the game day host. So we want to try you out in this. Let's see how it goes last year. And then this year, we had a new field, new ownership, and they offered me a position to be the game day host for the
That is so exciting. And do you feel like when you were telling people, they were kind of like, okay, that's cool, but you're going to do it? Like, you're a woman trying to enter such a popular field. Like, did you feel like you were being watched or judged really hard when you entered it?
Watched, definitely, but being part of the Argos cheerleaders, you're used to being watched.
Yeah.
I think the shock of being watched and seeing and somebody following your every move, that shock first came when I was in my rookie year in 2011. But that's something you get used to over time, and it was. I'm very lucky to have done it through the Toronto Argos because it was a very safe space to nurture my skills and to help me grow. Everyone's so supportive. You guys were right earlier that it is a male-dominated industry. A lot of the people at office are guys. The great thing is they were like my big brothers. They were so supportive. Anytime I wanted to meet and pick their brains and chat over coffee, they would give me advice. They're like, this is what you need to do. Keep going. Just having a really great support system.
So do you think there has been a shift, like being somebody who's a millennial? I still call all of us, even if we're probably past 25, we're still millennials forever. But do you feel there has been a shift, like as you said, I think that's really cool that you could go to the office and, the men were kind of not mocking you, or they kind of weren't trying to test your skills. They were sort of really supportive. Do you think that would have been the case maybe if this position would have existed 30 years ago?
It's hard to say. The women I know who have been in the sports industry for quite some time, they're the most powerful, the strongest women I know. So they're one of those. They won't tolerate any of that.
I love it.
So you really feed into that. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna stand up for myself because you can too. And there are women in that office who are like, you know what, we're not tolerating any of that. So having that and being exposed to really strong, powerful women has really helped me as well. Do you see it more now because the millennial shift? I think so. I think you could see it in sports, in athletes alone. It's really nice. I was at the FIFA Women's World Cup out in Ottawa. I was watching the game there. It was so cool to see these 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds. They're in the stands. They're wearing jerseys of their favorite athletes, and it's not guy athletes that they have on the back. Yeah. It's like Christine Sinclair on the back, and they're cheering, and they're having all these stats about these women athletes. And I remember, wow, when I was 7 or 8, I mean, it was great. I was cheering on Robbie Alomar and Joe Carter, cool, but I didn't have a female athlete that I would be doing all these stats or like following so closely, and that there's young girls now who have that opportunity to follow them that closely.
And I think it's really cool because you're right, for us growing up, even if you were sporty, kind of this tomboy, you could like sports, but it was, you were idolizing male sort of, sports figures, and if you were idolizing women, it was pop singers or, famous movie actresses.
Or
and
dancers.
Now, dancers, kind of the stereotypical girly things. And I think now it's great that women as well and young teens can change their conversations amongst each other, like to go watch a game and to cheer. I think that's amazing to see.
Absolutely.
So Cassandra, have we gotten any tweets?
Yeah, we just got in a really interesting tweet that I felt like I really had to share with you, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it, Jackie's opinion on it. Someone tweeted us, in your opinion, how do transgendered people fit into the conversation related to workplace and entertainment opportunities?
Okay, Jackie, you want to start?
Throw me with the first question.
Okay.
That's a really great question, and I think that that's something that is so prevalent today. I think that conversation is still happening now. I don't know how to respond to that. I think what I can approach it with my experiences is if you have to be really sure of yourself, you have to have the confidence in yourself, and that's what really matters first. Because when people ask, do you get angry when men don't respect you in the workplace,
right,
or like who are you doing for? You have to be doing actions for yourself. So it shouldn't be to please other people. If you want to be in the sports industry, you have to do it for yourself, not just because you want to prove somebody wrong or to prove that you belong there. If you have the skills, you have the talent, you have that initiation, that drive, only you can make yourself go as far as you can or hinder yourself from that.
No, that's a really good point. Ladies, do you want to tackle this tweet?
I think it's definitely hard in the sense that they face a lot of other stereotypes that they have to face every day. But like Jackie said, you definitely have to be sure of yourself first. And I feel like you can tackle anything after you're confident within yourself and you know what it is you want to do. For sure.
It's tougher.
It's definitely tougher because before anything else, people are trying to figure out who you are as a person. They're trying to figure you out, and they kind of separate you from the role that you're even here for. So for them, they walk through a lot.
And once you know who you are, nobody can shut that down, because
Absolutely,
if anything, they are going to look at you. They're going to be attracted to you. They're going to want to see what you're doing next. So they can't help but look. So we talked about Trudeau earlier, but his dad is what are you going to do with it? He says, just watch me. And the more confidence you have, the more power you have, people can't help but watch you.
Do you think there's stereotypes as we have for women? Do you think there's stereotypes for transgenders as well? Most transgender men are, going into fashion-oriented fields or going into certain ones. So on the other side of the break, we're going to ask these questions and look into if that is really true. Stay tuned, everybody, on #NoFilter. Hi everyone, welcome back to #NoFilter. I am sitting with Jackie Perez, game day host for the Toronto Argos. Jackie, some really tough questions, some heavy tweets coming in, guys.
It's a great discussion.
I know, I love this warm discussion, getting all philosophical now. I don't know what I'm gonna look like. Maybe read or something when I go home. Cassandra, really quickly, do you want to share one other tweet?
I do. I think this one was really good. So we got in a tweet from Clea, and she said, do you think that society will worsen or improve in terms of gender equality? So this could really go either way. So I'd love to hear the panelists' view on this.
Cassandra, what's your view on this? You keep pushing us under the bridge. It's your turn, girl.
I think it's going to get a lot better because there's a lot of campaigns that are working towards women's rights. Even though there's still a wage gap, it's getting a lot better. So I definitely think we're moving a step forward.
Okay. Jackie?
I love that we're having these conversations,
right,
and that it is going to conversations to young people too, because it's been there that we should be getting that equal pay, or we should be having this gender equality. I think the more we have these conversations, the more that we discuss it, that 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Like it's going to change people's minds. And I think what the pro in all of this is that it's being discussed, and it's not just being discussed by women, it's being discussed by men and women. Absolutely. And it's even exposing young boys or young men to these ideas that they're maybe not even be aware of.
So when you wanted to go into sort of the sports field and sports journalism, were your parents kind of like really like sports, like it's more for men, or like did people around you, your girlfriends or any of your buddies, were they kind of sort of questioning it? Like did you feel a little bit like, oh my God,
actually,
intimidated? Okay.
Like, I mean, I'm very lucky. My parents, I have two brothers, so a younger one and an older one. My older brother is a year older than me, and I don't know if you guys have older siblings, younger siblings. Do you always wanted to compete with them or trying to best up them?
Absolutely.
So I was like, if my brother could do it, like why can't I do it?
Yeah.
He's playing basketball, I'll do it too. I'm coming with you. I can do it better. So it was always there, and it was also trying to think of those creative ways, because I didn't want to be that third wheel. So I was like, okay, if like they're gonna play with me, I'm gonna go play these sports. And it turns out I actually liked it myself and really enjoyed it, and I was pretty good at it. When I said, hey, I'm really gonna pursue this sports career, and like, I mean, it is hard sometimes, because I question myself too, where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I know enough for it, or like there are other people who know far more than I do. But it's really nice to have a great support system. I mean, my parents, my brother even said to me, he's like, like, I don't know why you hesitate to pursue this career, because it is suited for you. Like, your stuff, you just have to believe in yourself. And that's what I always go back to. You really have to be your own cheerleader as well.
Before anybody else, absolutely.
Definitely.
And when you were growing up playing sports, did you feel though that time guys were kind of like, you're here. Okay, we'll go easy on you. Okay, we won't shoot the hoop too high.
What you were saying is that is my favorite thing to hear, to see. Like, I play baseball now, and in a co-ed league. And it's really interesting to see, because for like when the guys are up, they're spreading out that field and whatnot. And then when I get up to the plate, and it's natural and they do it for all the girls, is that they slowly creep forward the outfield.
You're like, hey guys.
Forward. I'm just like, fine, let's do this.
Okay? You're like, I'll
and
take
then you
it
crush
anyway.
it, and you're like, yes, and then you just start running.
Yeah.
But in terms of experiencing growing up, no, it was I played in girls' leagues too, so not so much co-ed, but when I did play, my brother was very much my champion, where he's like, I'll take her on my team and we'll face you guys.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
to
big
see.
brother. And I remember playing in the streets with his friends, and his mom came home. And so it was like me and my brother versus his two guy friends. And his mom came home, and she was just like, "You're always playing with these guys. Like, don't you want to do girl things?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" She was just like, well,
dance and draw.
And I do all that, right? So I dance, I draw. Like, I like fashion, but I also like this, and it like gave me an opportunity to expose me to different things. And I like to think of it as like a buffet.
Yeah.
You're exposing yourself to so many things that you build all these different skills, and you're able to talk about so many things. So it makes you very versatile and somebody that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, and you can sit down and have a conversation with anybody of all walks of life, because you're not limiting yourself based on your gender, right?
Absolutely.
That's a really good point.
You like to surprise people.
Yeah. Especially you two. I don't want to be playing no sports, nothing with you girls.
The competitiveness.
I'll just play like table tennis in my basement or something. Cassandra, we have time for one last tweet.
Okay, so I got two tweets in that I kind of want to read together because they're a very similar question.
Okay.
So the first one comes in from Sahij, and he said, women are expected to get married and have kids and quit their jobs. How do women overcome that stereotype? And then in addition to this, I also got another tweet from Amira, and she said, what can you do personally to ensure that your workplace treats all genders equally, and how can you be proactive on your end?
Could you repeat the first tweet?
Yeah, so the first tweet was all about women are expected to get married, have jobs, like quit their jobs and have kids. How do women overcome that stereotype? And the second tweet was about what can you personally do to make sure your workplace is treating women equally?
Well, that's a really good question from both of the tweeters, so thanks. I think what's cool to see now is like mat leave and men like go on leave as well, so I think that's really, really cool. Like a pat leave. I think that's amazing. Somebody at the other workplace that I'm at was like, okay, I'm leaving guys for 6 months, I'm on pat leave, and I'm like, what is that? Like, are you going golfing? Like, what are you doing? He's like, no, like maternity leave. So my wife's maternity leave is done, and now I'm going on pat leave. And I'm like, I think that's phenomenal to see that from switching it the opposite way, like even men now and what their expectations are is to be a little bit more, just to turn the tables, is to be a little bit more in tune with everything. Like you said, if we can do it, why can't they? So, you know, things like, can you go home and make the dinner, or can you go home and help out with laundry or help out with things? Can you go get grocery? You know, we have mom and dad coming for Thanksgiving dinner, help me out, pat leave. Like, I think as much as we put the pressure on women and women entering male-oriented fields, I think there's equally an expectation now by men to do the same thing. So on the other side of the break, we're gonna touch on this segment with Jackie. We're gonna ask her what she thinks, and we're gonna take maybe one last tweet, because I'm absolutely in love with the conversation that we have today. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back to #NoFilter. We are talking with Jackie and our fabulous panelists and our social media guest, celebrity, I don't know what to call her. She's just fabulous. Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra.
Hi.
Do you want to show me or read to me one last tweet?
Of course. So this is actually a question I have for all the ladies on the panel, including Jackie. And this is also a question we got in from Franco. He said, I was wondering how you would handle being mistreated in the workplace. So if you personally at your workplace were being mistreated, how would you go about dealing with this? Like, what's some advice you can offer to women who are being treated badly?
I think that's a really good question. I think it depends. It depends on the institution where you work. It depends of the nature of your work. You know, it depends on your HR structure. I think when you walk into a workplace and you've already established who you are and you command a certain level of respect, people know they can't push you in a certain way. You know, and as you said, if you believe in yourself and you walk in with a certain way that you are, they're going to know that. You know, when I used to go for auditions to many, many different commercials, there were national ad commercials, and sometimes you would feel intimidated because, you know, guys would make jokes or guys would say something, and, you know, guys would kind of use the, oh, you're just a pretty face going into that, and you'd have to sort of stand your own. And I think that's what it comes down to when men know that their respect is a two-way street. It's not just men giving it to women. I think it's equal that women should be giving it to men as well. There's a lot of women that engage in male bashing, right? And I don't participate in that, because if I'm sitting here having a discussion about equality and I'm going to do that, right? Like, where do we stand itself, like ourselves as role models? So, Jackie, what do you think?
I agree with everything you're saying.
Okay.
I'm nodding my head.
You're like,
yes,
yep,
yes.
We hit the nail.
Yeah, and I mean, to touch to your point, like my workplace, we're very lucky to have an HR department, and I think people don't know when to utilize that or to use it. They're like, oh, well, they just made a comment. Is that them disrespecting me? Or should I be flagging that every time somebody makes a comment? I think the minute you don't feel safe, the minute you feel uncomfortable, is when it's an issue. And when it is, it's after you've had discussions with them. And I always like to say, how can I approach this and make this better? Because maybe I've misinterpreted something. So you just lay your ground to be like, you know what, I didn't like that. So moving forward, let's not do that. And if they can continue with that, then that's when you take it to another.
Clear communication at first. Cora, what's your take?
I think it's really important that people need to feel comfortable standing up for themselves, but that being said, you need to learn how to do it in a responsible, like, respectful way so that they don't have something else on you at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so Jackie, I have a question that's a little bit corny, but I have to ask you. So I just flew to Switzerland about a few weeks ago, and on the way, I watched Bring It On my Air Canada flight because I think I'm really cool, and I absolutely love that movie. Every time I watch that movie, I think I'm going to, like, do a cheer. Like, woo, I know the cheers, and I'm really cool. Did you feel like there is a stigma when you enter cheerleading, especially for women, right? It's sort of growing up, you're always like, oh my God, you need to be super fit to be a cheerleader. You need to be super pretty. You need to be a certain way. And it's not actually considered a sport. Like, men would be like, it's just eye candy. So when you entered it, did you kind of feel like, why am I doing this? Like, okay, I can do this. Or were you like, oh, great, it's a popular thing to do? Because it was always, growing up, you always had that notion it was the cooler girls that were, you know, cheerleaders.
And that's one of the stereotypes, right? We have a really great program with the Toronto Argos. It's called the Huddle Up Bullying Prevention Program. So we go into schools, players, cheerleaders, and they talk to elementary school students about self-esteem, about bullying, how to prevent that from happening.
Amazing.
The great thing with the cheerleaders, we do a female aspect, and we don't just cover bullying, because girls tend to do social bullying more so than physical bullying. So we talk about that. We talk about self-esteem, but I also like to talk about stereotypes and what it means to be a cheerleader. I think that definition is very loose, or it really differentiates between a person and how they interpret it. I interpret a cheerleader as a role model. It's somebody who, I go out to the community and talk to these girls. A role model, I remember when I think cheerleader, I always ask them, when you think cheerleader, what do you guys think?
Right.
What do you think in your head immediately? Some people like blonde, ditzy, or a quarterback's girlfriend, and you're so great, right? And for me, when I think especially with my time with Argos, when I think cheerleader, I think role model. I think somebody who has 2 university degrees. I think somebody who's hardworking, because, you're working 6 or 7 hours a week on rehearsal. Then you have your 9-to-5 job, or you're working in school, or you're studying in school, you have your exams.
Right.
But you're expected to work out because, you are wearing a uniform. So you got to maintain your physique as well. You got to make sure you're eating right as well. And then you got to make sure you have that smiling face, you have the best attitude. Because a part of a cheerleader is you have this energetic personality,
Bubbly,
you have this
very
enthusiasm,
outgoing.
very outgoing. And if you're having a bad day, because trust me, everyone has a bad day.
Yeah.
There's been days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could be out there smiling to thousands of fans and dancing on the field. But you got to put a smile on. You got to show that you are excited. So
amazing.
To do all that, I think that cheerleaders are role models, are such powerful women, and that everyone supports each other. There's that stigma that
there's a stigma that you can't, right? But there isn't.
No,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what I've learned the most.
All right, so hold that thought, Jackie. Thank you so much for being on our show. You can connect with Jackie on social media. You can watch her. She is a game day host for the Toronto Argos. She's also on Rogers TV for Mississauga. What is your show name? Please tell our viewers.
Insaga Live. You can find insaga.com for the ins and outs of Mississauga.
Amazing. We will see you next week as we talk about startups.